there's two basic ways that you can stay on track with a change program. One is by using willpower. And when I say willpower, I mean by consciously forcing, remembering to do something, and that can work really well for short term. If you need to get through a shift at work, if you need to cram for a test or something, willpower is great. And it gets a bad rap because people think, oh, my New Year's resolution didn't work. I'll tell you why. Willpower is really, really good for short-term applications. But for long-term, it doesn't really work. Like, say, weight loss, for instance, or quitting smoking, or changing anything like that. It's just too hard to remember all the time. You're going to slip sometime. But habits, that's different. Because when you establish a habit, like going to the gym, or like, hey, I'm not a smoker anymore, or a habit of eating certain things, habits take on a life of their own. It doesn't require effort anymore. It just goes, it's automatic. So habits are a really important tool. So if you want to make a change in your life, start thinking about developing positive habits, because habits can work both ways. Like I said, as soon as you do something more than once, your brain starts wanting to encode it as a pattern as soon as you do that. So watch out for that. Typical thing would be like junk food or something. You're eating junk food and then you eat the next one and then you eat the next. Well, now you know that you can see this. If you take the second Dorito, that you're much more likely to take that third one, take that fourth one. So be aware of the habits that are working against you and be aware of developing habits that work for you. Yeah, pretty simple. And the other thing is belief. Now, I'm not talking about, I believe I can play in the NBA even though I'm only 5'2". I'm not talking about beliefs that are unrealistic. I'm talking about beliefs that actually can really determine how your life goes. I mean, when you're a young child, if one of your relatives comes up and says, oh, you're such a nice, cute, round little girl, all the women in our family are overweight, you're going to be just like all the women in our family. You say that to a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old where it just goes right in. And that can be a belief that can actually determine their direction in life. So beliefs are very, very powerful. Now the flip side of that is, let's say you're a football player and it's the end of a football game and you're the quarterback and your team, you got 1 minute to get down the field and make the touchdown. The coach calls a timeout and brings you in and he says, I believe in you. I believe you can do it. I know you can do it. Well, that's a different kind of belief. And if you really respect that coach and you're in a high emotional state and you take that suggestion on, even if you fail in that game, you can still believe that it was just a mistake, that was just a one-time thing. You're going to just keep believing that you're going to be able to do it, even in spite of what's actually happening in your world. Okay, so they can work for you and against you as well. I thought this was a cute little picture, but actually I think this explains it really well. You see in the middle is where you want to be. That's your target state. Okay, and then we did some virtual practice tonight, and then we talked about the real world practice. So that's the next circle that supports your target state. But then the habits support that, and then the beliefs support that. So why am I drawing circles? What I want to get across here is it's all happening at the same time. So where people get hung up is they think, I have to do this, then I have to do this, then I have to do this, then I have to do that, and then I can be happy. See, you're deferring it. You're saying, I can't be happy until I do this, until I do that, It's not like that. This stuff is all happening at the same time. You've got a little bit of your target state, you've got a little bit of the virtual practice. I encourage you to be your goal. And what do I mean by that? I mean, act like you've already got it. Dress like you're that person. Go to meetups and things like this, like you're right here. Go to things like this that a person that would have that would do. You know, go to events where those kind of people would go. Become that kind of a person, and you are going to enjoy it so much more than just deferring it and putting it off. Because putting it off is no fun, because that means you have to do all this work. And gee, how long is it going to take? And am I ever going to get there? But if you start doing this stuff right away, then you can actually enjoy the process, and you're much more likely to do it. Okay? All right, so that actually brings us to the very final thing. Well, final two things. Before you go, I did want to just remind you of what we talked about tonight, so because I think it's very valuable, and I want you to remember it, okay? So we talked about defining your own vision of success, imagining the target state with a physical anchor and giving it a name. That is the goal. That is gold, and it doesn't take much time. You do that, and you're going to be amazed. Do virtual practice. If your goal has something to do with a skill, it could be a sport, it could be anything. It could be public speaking, it could be anything like that. Do your virtual practice and imagine already having it. Imagine already having it in the same way that we did it tonight, same way. And then develop the habits and beliefs that support that. Okay, that's the whole thing right there. The final thing, and this is the thing that's really going to kick it into the real world. Ask yourself this. We talked about it. It's one thing to talk about it. It's one thing to imagine it. Now it's time to actually bring it into the real world. So how do we do that? There's going to be something that you're going to do first. You don't have to know what it is right now, but I want you to start thinking about that, okay? And I want you to take this question with you. What can you do? What small little thing can you do towards getting where you want to go? Baby step. But as long as you know where you're going, you have a very, very good chance of getting there. Okay? All right, thank you so much for coming tonight.